He was only 19 when he became more than just a big brother. He became a provider, a protector, and a silent guardian for his younger sister. With their parents gone too soon, the world forced him to grow up overnight, while other teenagers were going to college parties or planning weekend getaways. He was juggling 2 jobs and silently fighting sleep every day. But he never once complained, because every time he saw his sister smile, every time she brought home an A on a test, it reminded him why he was doing it. He took the night shift as a janitor at a nearby office building. The pay was low, the hours were brutal, and the work was thankless. But it was quiet, and in those quiet hours, he often thought about his sister's future. After his shift ended at 4 a.m., he'd grab a coffee, sometimes just warm water, if money was tight, and head straight to his second job at a small diner. He'd be on his feet flipping pancakes and cleaning tables by sunrise, always with a tired smile. He knew the customers by name, and though most never noticed the fatigue, in his eyes a few regulars could tell he was running on fumes. Still, he always responded the same when asked how he was doing. "I'm good, just grateful." At home, he kept things cheerful. He didn't want his sister to know the full weight of their struggles. He told her he just liked working, that it made him feel independent. She believed him. She studied hard, applied for scholarships, and dreamed of becoming a doctor. Every night before she went to bed, she'd thank him for being the best brother in the world. He'd hug her and tell her he was proud of her. But once she was asleep, he'd sit in the living room, count what little money they had left, and figure out what bills could wait another week. He gave up a lot: sleep, social life, even his own dreams of college. But in his heart, none of it felt like a loss. Every sacrifice was an investment in his sister's future. He remembered how she used to cry at night after their parents died, how she clung to him and asked if everything would be okay, and he promised her it would be. He was determined to keep that promise. When winter came, their heater broke down. They couldn't afford to fix it, so he gave her extra blankets and told her it was just a cold snap. He warmed water on the stove so she could shower. She never knew that he slept with his jacket on, curled up on the couch because he gave her the only space heater they had. He'd wake up shivering, then get dressed in the dark and head out for another overnight shift. One night, after scrubbing a hallway floor for the 3rd time because someone tracked mud in, he sat down for a minute and closed his eyes. Just a minute, he told himself. But exhaustion won. He woke up 2 hours later in a panic. He almost lost that job, but he begged his manager to give him another chance. "My sister," he whispered, "she's counting on me." Some days he felt like collapsing. His legs ached, his back hurt, and his mind was constantly fighting sleep. But he held on, because her future was brighter than his pain. On her birthday, he saved every tip he had for weeks to buy her a used laptop. She squealed with joy when she saw it. "How did you afford this?" he asked. He smiled and said, "Just managed to catch a few good shifts." She didn't know he had skipped meals to save that money. He kept every report card she brought home. He hung them on the fridge like a proud parent. When she got accepted into a university, he cried quietly in the bathroom so she wouldn't see. That acceptance letter meant everything. It meant every tired night, every skipped meal, every aching step had been worth it. He worked harder than ever after that. Tuition was expensive, and though she got some financial aid, it wasn't enough. He picked up an extra shift, barely sleeping between jobs. He didn't care. She was chasing her dream, and he would carry her as far as he had to, but through it all, he never told her how hard it really was. He never told her how many times he nearly passed out at work, or how he walked home in the rain to save bus fare. He didn't want her to worry. He wanted her to fly without the weight of his wings, holding her down. He was her hero, and she had no idea just how much he had given up to be that. The day of her graduation was bright, warm, and filled with the kind of hope that only years of struggle and sacrifice could produce. She stood in front of the mirror in her cap and gown, smoothing out the wrinkles in her robe and double-checked that her tassel was on the correct side. It felt surreal. After late nights of studying, early mornings of commuting, and carrying the quiet weight of being the first in her family to walk this path today was the moment she had dreamed of. But in her heart, it didn't feel complete. One person was missing from the celebration. Her brother had texted her that morning, congratulating her and saying he was proud of her, but that he couldn't make it to the ceremony. He told her he had to work a double shift and promised they'd celebrate later. She understood he always worked, always gave, always showed up in quiet ways. But something about his absence stung. She wanted him to be there more than anyone, because if anyone deserved to see this day, it was him. As she waited in line with the other graduates, her mind drifted to all the sacrifices he had made for her. The worn shoes he wore for years. The way he always said he had already eaten, even when their fridge was almost empty. How he gave her every moment of peace while hiding the chaos he lived in. She could still see the fatigue in his eyes when he picked her up from night classes. He never said much about how hard things were, but she had always known. And today, walking across that stage, she wanted the world to know. After the ceremony, friends and families gathered with flowers, balloons, and tearful embraces. Cameras clicked, and laughter filled the air. She accepted congratulations with a soft smile, but her heart was somewhere else. She walked slowly to the side of the auditorium where her purse was kept, and opened it. Inside was a small envelope her brother had slipped into her hand the night before, saying only, "Open it after you graduate." She sat down quietly under a tree, away from the crowd, and gently tore it open. Inside was a handwritten letter, written in her brother's careful, slanted script. She could already feel the lump in her throat rising before she read the first word. "Hey, little sis. If you're reading this, it means you did it. You made it. You crossed that finish line I've been dreaming about since we were kids. One wish, I could be there with you right now. But truth is, I didn't want to ruin your big day by showing up looking like I just rolled off a shift because I probably did. I need to tell you something. Something I never really said. Everything I've done these past few years, every job, every sleepless night, every missed birthday or dinner, I did it all for you. Because when Mom and Dad left, I made a promise to them in my heart. I promised I'd give you a chance, a real chance at life, not just surviving, thriving, dreaming. You never asked me to carry that weight, but I did it anyway. And I'd do it again 1,000 times over. Do you remember that day you cried when you didn't think college was possible? I didn't cry with you then, but I did later alone in the dark. But not because I was sad, because I was determined. I knew no matter what, you were going to walk across that stage. And now you have taught, so here's the truth, sis. You didn't just earn this degree for yourself, you earned it for both of us. You studied, and I worked. You wrote essays, and I wiped down tables. You chased dreams, and I held the ladder steady beneath your feet. But this moment, this victory, it's all yours, because now you fly. Now you go and do all the things we used to talk about when we were little. Save lives, make people smile, build something bigger than both of us, and just remember, no matter where you go, no matter how far, your big brother's always cheering for you, even from a distance. Love you always, Jay. She finished reading with tears falling freely down her cheeks, soaking the bottom of the letter. Her hands trembled as she folded it back into the envelope and held it to her chest. She didn't care about the cap, the gown, or the diploma in that moment. All she cared about was the love that had carried her this far. She looked up at the sky, smiling through her tears. She whispered, "Thank you, Jay." She didn't need a crowd. She didn't need applause. That letter was her real graduation gift, proof of a love that worked quietly, sacrificed deeply, and never asked for anything in return.
A week after her graduation, the apartment was unusually quiet. She had taken some time off to be with her brother, to finally enjoy life without the constant weight of exams and deadlines. But her brother had continued working, just like always. He refused to take a break, insisting they needed to catch up on bills and rent. She knew he was proud of her, but she could see the tiredness in his eyes more clearly now. The dark circles, the way he winced when he moved his shoulders, the hollow laugh he gave when she begged him to rest. She had started to notice things she never paid attention to before, how their fridge was never full, how the soles of his work boots were worn down to nothing, how the envelopes piled on the counter always seemed to come with stress. She asked him one evening, "Why didn't you tell me how hard it really was?" He just smiled and said, "Because you were meant to fly, not worry about how we kept the wind under your wings." That night, she cried herself to sleep. Days later, something unexpected happened. There was a knock at the door just past noon. Her brother was working, and she was home alone. She opened it cautiously, finding a man in his early 50s standing there. He wore a plain gray jacket and had a calm but serious look in his eyes. He held a folder in one hand and what looked like a checkbook in the other. "Are you Jay's sister?" he asked gently. "Yes," she said, confused. "Can I help you?" He nodded. "My name is Carl Matthews. I was one of your brother's regulars at the diner. I don't usually get involved in other people's lives, but your brother, well, he's a rare kind of person." Her heart skipped. "Is everything okay? Did something happen to him?" Carl shook his head. "He's fine. Still working like a machine, I assume. But I wanted to meet you. I read the letter he wrote you. He left it on the counter at the diner by accident, and I hope you don't mind. I read it." She blinked in surprise. "You read his letter to me?" "Yes," he said, almost guiltily. "I shouldn't have. But once I started, I couldn't stop. That letter, it changed me. I've seen a lot of people in my life chase money, ignore love, forget family. But your brother, he gave up everything for you. That kind of love, it's rare. It reminded me of the kind of man I wanted to be." She stood frozen, unsure of what to say. Carl continued, "I'm a business owner. I run a few tech firms. I didn't have an easy childhood either, but I was lucky to meet people who believed in me. I swore one day I'd pay that forward. When I read what your brother did, I knew it was time." He handed her the folder. Inside was a document with official seals and numbers she didn't quite understand at first. Then she saw her name on it along with a university logo and the words "Loan paid in full." "I don't understand," she whispered. Carl smiled. "Your student loans are gone, paid completely. I also set up a small scholarship in your name. For first-generation college students, you'll help choose the recipients each year." She looked up at him with tears filling her eyes. "Why would you do this for us?" "Because your brother already did everything," Carl said softly. This is just kindness catching up. A man like Jay shouldn't carry the world alone. He deserves to see that love comes back. She burst into tears, unable to hold it. Back Carl gently placed a hand on her shoulder and waited until she could breathe again. He gave her the checkbook. Next inside was a personal check for $10,000. For him, Carl said, tell him to take a break, just for once. Later that evening, when her brother walked through the door, exhausted and still wearing his apron, she ran to him and hugged him tight. Whoa, what's all this? He said, laughing a little. She pulled away just enough to look at him. Kindness found us? Jay. He looked puzzled. She sat him down and handed him the folder, then the check. She told him everything about the man at the door, the letter, the scholarship, the paid debt. At first, he didn't believe her. He kept shaking his head, his voice cracking. No one just does that, he whispered. She held his hands. He did, because you were good, because your love mattered, for the first time in years. He cried. Not from pain, not from exhaustion, but from relief. From the overwhelming, unexpected grace of being seen, being helped. They sat on the floor together, holding hands, both crying, both laughing. For the first time he felt like it had all come full circle. The nights he worked through hunger, the mornings he limped to work, the moments he doubted if it was worth it suddenly, they all meant something more. Kindness had come back, not just in money or scholarships, but in the quiet validation that everything he did, every sacrifice he made, had been noticed by the universe. And now, for once, he could rest.